What's happening? Today on First Cup, we're going to go a little bit deeper on knives, talk about self-defense with knives, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about some podcast episodes I recorded yesterday. Stick around. We're live in 15. Oh. Coffee. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Today is Wednesday. It's August 25th, 2021. It's really weird to say that. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup of coffee. Why is that weird to say? Because time just seems like it moves so fast. It feels like it moves faster and faster the older I get, and I don't like that. I think it should be the opposite. Remember when you were a kid, you're like, oh, I can't wait till I'm, 3-4 years in the future. I don't do that now. I don't say I can't wait for, 2026. No, there's 5 years. I don't want to lose them. Over the kitchen sink on the outside, fortunately, are two very, very large spiders. The bigger of the two, I think I mentioned this, is like this big. It's a big spider. And one of them is always there when I wake up in the morning. The other one seems to have a different routine. But I wondered this morning, good morning, Tommy, as I saw the one that was there fixing its web, were spider webs originally to catch bugs, or was it just like, hey, look at this cool thing I can do, and then a bug got in it and like messed it all up? I feel like there's a joke in there. I'm just not awake enough to find it. Spiders are interesting. I don't want them in my house. Little ones in the corner are fine because they catch those stupid little flies. And I generally leave those. But like if you start seeing the web or you can see the spider, that's where I draw the line. Tommy's hosting an event at his place on Saturday. I appreciate the invite. I am triple booked on Saturday. And if I included your stuff, quadruple booked. So, sorry. Good morning, Casper. Well, yesterday was a busy day. I really like the podcast recording schedule we have, the every other Tuesday sort of thing. It works well because it allows me to focus. Good morning, Daniel. It allows me to focus on one thing at a time. Every other week, I spend a day recording podcast episodes. And yesterday's episodes went really well. We had 3 pretty darn good ones. The first episode I recorded, I was within 5 minutes so blown away by the guest's philosophical outlook on martial arts that I've invited them to present at Free Training Day. So we're slowly stacking that. I got to follow up on the t-shirt stuff on that today. We're getting there. I know it's 2.5 months. Plenty of time. Well, I can take down the what we're talking about banner. So I'm thinking more and more about this idea of a Facebook group for First Cut. And here's what I'm thinking. There are a few things. One, it would be easier for me to pull comments from all of you because there'd be one place. Frank is diligent about it, and I appreciate that. But I bet some of the rest of you have some thoughts. And 2, there's this interesting, this starts the day. There could be something kind of neat about ending the day, not with a live recording, but just kind of to post and say, hey, who had a win today? Who had something really good? To celebrate what's going on for everybody. I think that could be kind of cool. Are we going to do it? I don't know. I'm thinking about it. If you feel strongly, let me know. Tommy says, which instructor did you invite? I can't tell you, because then I would be telling you somebody who's been on the show or is coming on the show. And the only place that I divulge that information, some of you know, is Patreon. That was the first thing that we did with Patreon that was different. I said, I will tell you who the guests are. So, but the other two were really good. I felt like I was on yesterday. I felt like the episodes went really well. My interview skills were good. I did one of them sitting down. Usually I stand up. But by the end of the day, I was like, I want to sit down. And honestly, it's an entirely different style. It's just a whole different thing. To sit versus stand when I record. And it's not a bad difference. It's just different. I have more energy when I stand up. When I record. And it's better for the lungs, right? Like you stand and you hunch, or you sit and you hunch. Like you stand up, opens up your lungs and diaphragm. So, what else can I tell you? No animals drinking at the super tiny pond I built. The pond. Yeah, seeing no animals around here makes me sad. Did I do anything else? It was hot yesterday. It's gonna be hotter today. We're having like almost heat wave number 2 of the month, and that's just weird for us for August. But it's okay. Today is a crazy busy day. I have client call. Client wants me to come look at something to do a bunch of work. And then I feel like there's something else. And then karate. It's a long day. It's a lot going on, but it's okay. It's okay. Anything else to share? I don't think so. I think that's it. Okay. So yesterday we talked about knives, and I showed you a bunch of my knives in my collection. And if you want to go back, check out, you can see some knives and my thoughts on some knives. But Frank wrote in and wanted me to do some follow-up on some stuff regarding knives. So let's see what he was asking for. You know what else I did yesterday before the episodes? Had a meeting with Justin from Martial Journal, and we are adding writers like crazy. If anybody out there wants to write for Martial Journal, now is a great time because you can get in with a bunch of other people. And the onboarding process for us is a little bit easier when we're working with multiple people at a time. So if you're not familiar with Martial Journal, what are you doing? Check it out. But we have a goal of getting to 1 post per day. And so we really think that we need 30 really solid active writers who are willing to commit to writing 1 article a month. And one of the things I will tell you is that one of the people I interviewed yesterday does a thing where there may be some paid writing opportunities that he's going to send me the information on, and we may be handing those over to some of the more active writers at Martial Journal. I'm always looking for ways that we can help the writers, including ways that they can make money. Jared's asking, are these Whistlekick clients or IT clients on your schedule today? Are we getting more cool Whistlekick stuff? Everybody on the schedule today is a consulting client. I make the distinction from IT because not everybody I work with is IT related. But no new Whistlekick stuff. I am overloaded. We are not. In fact, I have a big sign that I printed out. It's on my desk and says no new. What does it say? Nothing new until after Labor Day. I'm not even adding. I'm trying not to add meetings. The exception is meetings that come up and they're like, "Hey, can I give you money?" I'm like, "All right." But we really need to dial in some of the things that we're doing before I could add new aspects. We've got enough. I mean, we've got this show. We've got Martial Arts Radio. We've got Martial Journal. We've got the free training day event. We've got all of our apparel. We've got the protective equipment. We've got the social media, Patreon, training programs, the books. Am I missing something? Probably missing something. It's a lot of different things. Now, keep in mind that there aren't a lot of hours available to make all those things work. So the plan now is to just refine what we have and make it better and better and better and better, and connect dots and bring the whole thing up instead of adding more stuff. I feel like we've got a really good foundation for moving forward. Daniel says, you've got so much, I'm not sure when you sleep. Well, there's a wonderful team that helps out. I'm very, very fortunate. All right. So Frank's got 3 questions here. I'm going to ask him if any of you have questions related to these things that are, from the chat about knives and stuff I'm saying. Ask away. Okay. We can use WK as Whistlekick here in the chat. Absolutely. I abbreviate Whistlekick. It's a lot of letters. Have you ever considered selling a Whistlekick knife? I have not. In part because I've learned that the more niche an offering is, meaning not everybody's going to want to buy a Whistlekick knife, the more expensive it ends up being, and the more finicky the people who would buy it are. I think that's probably the kindest way to put it. There have been a lot of things that I've tried to bring to market, and people have said, yeah, I want that, I want that, I want that. And I bring it out, and they're like, oh, but this thing is this tiny little difference over here that I don't like. Okay, fine. So go buy the one that the other company that doesn't support you and your family and your school and somehow still costs almost as much and you complain about constantly. Go buy that one. People look for reasons to say no. So I'm really careful about what we're going to invest our time on. If you saw the warehouse, if you saw the upstairs, you would see that I went through a year where I bought samples of everything we could possibly make. Every kind of pad and uniform and rash guard and target shield, not weapons, but general purpose martial arts stuff. And worked the economics on a lot of it, and some things worked and some things didn't. For example, we did targets. We had in Taekwondo, they're generally called paddles, single paddles. And you know what I did? I came up with ones that were different colors on each side. Why? Because it expanded the versatility of the unit. The person holding it, you had a whole different kind of drill now. You could call out colors. I struggled to get people to buy them because they're like, oh, I can go get this other one over here for $1 or less. Fine. And but when I went back and I looked at the economics, actually the shipping killed us. So I didn't do a new batch of them. There's still some out there. I have one in my bag. Most of them have held up. Whoa. Okay. Does that mean we can adopt Andrew Whistlekick as a brand ambassador, as a brand ambassador? Sure, if you want to. I mean, it kind of already is. So no knives. Although I do have, and when it's ready, it'll be ready in the next few months. I will. Andrew Whistlekick is a rock star. Hey, I agree. He's a great friend. We are in almost, I don't want to say constant, but continual communication about the show. Oh, apparently we're talking about someone very different. I don't know who you're talking about. the god of partying. That doesn't sound like Andrew. This must be some, I don't know. Am I missing something? Maybe it's just too early. An actual rock star. Okay. Who did we lose yesterday? It was the drummer from the Stones passed away. I know that he meant something to some people. Actually, I just heard people talking about him recently. Not a big Stones fan, but okay. Look up Andrew WK. I'm gonna have to. Andrew was cool and all, but not a rock star. He'll be watching this later, I bet. I've got a friend from back from high school who is a blacksmith now, and he's making me a knife. That was my gift to myself, my birthday gift to myself. So we talked about it a few months ago. He's working on it. I'll show you when it comes in. Charlie Watts was his name. Yeah, that guy. Coffee is really good this morning. Let's pour some more. I like coffee. It's tasty. Okay. Nope. Go away, phone. Stop doing that. Do you have any survival knives, as in the hollowed handle kind? I don't. I remember being a kid and seeing like the Rambo survival knife in catalogs that would come to the house. Remember catalogs? And I wanted one so bad. I thought they were so cool. But you know, once I got older, you look at Jared's asking fixed blade versus a folder. It's a fixed blade. Pretty much I told him, I said, hey, I want you to make the knife you want to make. Because I like when craftsmen do that. You know, make the thing that you want to make. You know, I give him some criteria, but I figure it'll be way cooler if he enjoys making it. If you take the stuff out of one of those survival knives, you got like 3 matches and some fishing line and something that they call a saw, which might as well be really aggressive dental floss, and a fish hook, and I don't know what else. There's not a lot of space in there. And the thing that I always wondered, I don't know that, I think I've held one. I'm trying to remember. It always struck me that the balance would likely be off. If it was a really rugged knife, it would be hard to get the handle to balance out with the blade that way, but maybe it's possible. So no, I don't have one of those. I'm also not a huge fan of really thick handles. I have small hands. I have really small hands. So I don't like a knife that's particularly thick on the handle. Stacy says, love the service merchandise catalog. Tommy says, Rambo knives were the rage. Kind of dumb in my humble opinion. When camping, I have a backpack full of stuff. Yeah, I agree with that. Is that like the old knives we used to see when I was a kid with a compass in the hilt? Yes. They had a compass there. Because there's nothing safer than walking around with this tiny little compass while you've got your knife out. Or, as I'm sure most people would have done it, just holding the knife flipped over and not taking the compass top off and just walking around with a live blade in front of you as you try not to trip over things. If I was going to get another knife, I've been stepping more into fixed blades. I find them really interesting. And this is going to dovetail into the last question that Frank asked. Jared says the Whistlekick Christmas catalog. I actually did a catalog at one point, had them printed, brought them to events. People didn't care. They just wanted to know what was right there in front of them. You know, the whole retail side of what we do is really challenging. It's really hard. So I would love to have somebody that would come on that could be their focus. And they would take a cut. It's not a lot of money right now, so it's not a big cut now. That's why I need some help. But yeah, there are like half a dozen positions I would bring people on for: apparel, retail, brand ambassadors, sales. Daniel says retail socks. He owns a shop. Yeah, It's rough. It's really rough. Where was I going? Oh, I've been spending more time like kind of getting into fixed blade knives, and I think that some of that influence is some of the training that I've done involving knives and learning what can be. I don't have anything. We could pretend this is a knife, right? Like if I have a little pocket knife, you know, with a tiny blade, you know, most of the stuff that I've learned, I can do it, but there isn't quite the reach, right? And the balance on most folding knives, you know, you're not going to flip it if that becomes relevant. Not that I would want to flip a knife in any kind of confrontation. That feels way too fancy and risky. But a fixed blade knife just seems to be a little more intimidating and I would say, given equal quality, more durable. So, coffee is so good this morning. I slept like a rock. I really did. I went to the gym. First time in a week, I think. Skipped abs because, man, karate class, they're like, they like abs. They like abs at this school. They're like, okay, we're going to do 20 push-ups. Actually, I think it was 30 push-ups. Most people don't do push-ups very well. And then it's like 80 reps of ab movement. And again, most people don't do that stuff very well. Most people don't handle physical calisthenic sort of things well. They push for volume instead of quality. It's not a good way to get the body to respond, but that's okay. I do my own stuff. But I skipped abs because my abs are still smoked from Monday. We were talking about knives. So Frank's last question here is, come on. My phone's being weird. What is the number one thing you wish more people knew about using a knife for self-defense? I think the number one thing is if you don't drill with a knife, it is not going to be as, effective for you as you think it will. Now that is not the same as recommendations with a gun. If you do not drill with a gun, you probably should not have a gun. I have such a low level of training, I am barely comfortable carrying a firearm, which is why I very rarely carry a firearm. When do I generally carry a firearm? When I'm in the woods. I have a gun that I refer to as my, last ditch effort bear gun. I figure the most likely scenario where I'm going to use it is a bear is eating my arm and I shoot it in the face. I'm not out training, so I'm not out carrying. I do train a little bit more with a knife. Now, anybody can hold a knife, anybody can stab or cut. But in a high stakes, high adrenaline situation, are you even going to remember it's there? If someone is punching you in the face, are you going to turtle up or are you going to kind of half turtle, turn, take that knife off your pocket? Where is the knife? Have you practiced deploying the knife? This is one of the reasons I like carrying a knife and taking it out for even silly little jobs, because it gives me practice knowing where it is, taking out, opening it one-handed, etc. Now, there's something that's a little bit ironic with knives, in that if it makes you more comfortable to carry it, in carrying it, you are less likely to be a target. It's the same argument I make about even the worst martial arts self-defense programs. If it makes you more confident, you are less likely to be a target. And that in and of itself is beneficial. But I think that, like everything else these days, people fall into one of two camps. People either train with knives all the time, they're like knife, 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 or they're like, knife. And maybe they've done, 5 seconds of training with it. Knives are useful. They're tools. And I think whether it's a self-defense weapon or something else, I think carrying a knife makes sense. I think everybody should be carrying a knife. Oh, we got some comments. As I sit here changing out the knocking points on my arrows while watching you talk about knives, I find myself wondering what other weapons you have sat around, and can we have another morning of show and tell? Yeah, I was actually thinking that yesterday when we did that showing you some of the other stuff that I have. I've got a pile over there, some of my more conventional, my martial arts weapons that I'll be running through and doing some TikTok videos potentially. Right now, TikTok's got a hair across their butt about people doing anything with weapons. They're banning people for using blunt swords and stuff. It's really getting draconian over there. So I have to be really careful. I'm wondering, like the cane video is gonna get pulled or something as my reach grows. But yeah, I can show you. Tommy says, in Silat, Kali fixed blades hold up a bit better. I understand what you were saying. Good point. Ha, no pun intended. A single piece of metal is going to be more durable than 2 pieces of metal, which is a folder, right? Like it's just, it makes sense. And Tommy also says, I've had lots of gun training, still feel as you do. Is carrying one once worked for Pinkerton and a few other DoD jobs. So interesting. Yeah, the irony, nobody sees a knife on somebody's pocket, at least in our area, and as a response. If nobody sees somebody with a pocket knife and you see somebody with a larger fixed blade knife, you may, depending on who you are. If you see someone with a firearm, unfortunately, there's a very good chance that people are going to react to you. And to me, that is an element of self-defense. That if your presentation in the world creates change among the people you are around, you've done something wrong. You don't want to stick out in either way. You don't want to stick out as a target. You don't want to stick out as a victim. And that's one of the reasons I'm supportive of concealed carry. If you're going to carry a firearm, I think generally it makes more sense to carry it in a way that people don't know. I don't know too many people who carry a firearm in public who open carry would be the term. I saw somebody at a car show like 6 weeks ago, and they were open carrying. And there wasn't much to report on that. But I found my reaction to that very interesting. Because even though I'm fine with firearms, I've trained with firearms, I generally like firearms. If I'm going to react, if I'm going to have a response to seeing that person carrying, what about people who maybe are less familiar with them? How are they going to react? And that creates potential scenarios. I don't want anything I wear or do to create scenarios. I want to avoid them. Stacy says, Laura and I have both had videos labeled as dangerous, do not attempt, or pulled down entirely. She's talking about on TikTok. Yeah, because they're breaking boards. The people on TikTok reviewing this stuff are ridiculous. Daniel says, firearms in public seems truly mental from 3,000 miles away. One to shoot a bear in the face, I get that. Yeah, it's a whole different culture over here. It really is. But we're not going to go any further on that, because then we start getting into a conversation about firearms and politics, and I'm not going there. I'm not going there. All right. It's time. Time to send you on your way. I hope you have a great day. Let me know what you think about this idea of a Facebook group for First Cup. I don't expect it would be really active, but just something to wrap up the end of the day, to say, hey, who had a big thing? And then we can turn the chat, because there's a solid core group of you who come and watch live, and another solid group who watch later on. And it would be nice to find a way to kind of bridge those two groups. And I think a Facebook group would allow that. And then secondly, if somebody has something big coming up that they want to say, hey, I've got a job interview today. Hey, I've got this big, whether it's positive or negative, could be a nice way for some support. I think that could be kind of cool. I get a lot of support from you all in the chat and even later in the day for people who don't watch live. And I really appreciate that. And I'm imagining that this same group would do that for everyone. So let me know what you think. Okay. Hit me up, email, Facebook. I don't care. Just let me know. All right. People talk. Facebook group seems like a plan. I like groups I can post random musings in. All right. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. And yeah, maybe we'll talk about some other weapons tomorrow. We'll see what Frank wants to do. Take care, everybody. Peace.